Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. This is another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we do have the Lions Valley Tower Guide. This is going to be the tower guide for the Lions Valley event, which is the 1.5 year anniversary special 20-floor tower that is coming out for everybody. You can find the PDF to download in the description down below, but what we're going to do is we're going to go floor by floor talking about all of the different sections, and we're going to kind of segment the video by floor number, talking about the first 10 floors, of course. And then we're going to go ahead and go into the details and the clear strategies as well. Let's go ahead and dig in. If you are new to Tower is content that is designed to take all of your units and move them up 20 floors of challenge missions. Now, since we are starting, and this is a special tower event, we are going to be starting at level 20 on floor 1, which does mean that for the first 10 floors, you don't really need much strategy. So the main thing that you need to remember if you are running the first 10 floors, a lot of people like to run evasion compositions. They just leave auto on, and then they just kind of let it take care of itself. And I would say most players are not going to struggle with this. And even if you are a new player, you can actually do this, and you can get up to, floor 5 easy, and that's a free 20 tickets for your account. So always remember that, even if you're new, you can still do this a little bit as well. Now, of course, once you get up to floor 10, the difficulty does kind of increase almost exponentially. Floor 10 is level 50. Floor 10 EX, every 10 floors, we get an EX floor. And the EX floors are going to have the Blossoms of Paradise, also known as Weed, in them. And the first EX floor is going to be level 60 at floor 10. And this floor is going to be pretty easy. If you have any EX units, if you have level 99 units, you're probably going to stomp this floor. There's nothing particular of note, because the enemies don't really have their special resistances yet, which really start happening around floor 11. So if you do make it to floor 10 EX, if you have level 99 units, you are going to be able to pretty easily stomp this. If you do want to know kind of like some advantage types that you can bring, you can always look at the guide and kind of make your decision that way. But I think most people will be able to make it this far without too much issue. It's once we start getting to floor 11 and above where we start encountering some difficulty. Pulling up floor 11, you guys will notice that we start having floor plans for all of the different floors, enemy lists, and we have unit recommendations, gear recommendations, and also defensive recommendations. So you can see here on floor 11, we are going to be going up against a lot of snipers, both ice and light element. We're also going to be going up against paladins, and you're going to hear me say this multiple times as we are talking about the enemies on this specific tower floor. The paladin type enemies almost all either have native enmity generation or native hate, and you do need to be careful if you are running auto, because it will mess with your AI. So I would highly encourage for floors 11 through 20, if you're not someone who has a ton of units, right? Definitely going to be something where you are going to want to go in and manual this. You'll also notice, unlike previous towers, all of the different floors as we're going through actually have multiple elements of enemies, and that's pretty big, and that's a pretty big change as well that you're not going to be used to. You're basically going to have to farm multiple element type attack teams. Now, I personally went through the elemental weakness and the attack type weakness. Most of the time, if you don't have a unit that has, like, let's say you don't have an earth magic or something, you can use a magic unit to substitute. You're just not going to get the element type advantage, and you're also not going to get the defensive utility of running, if you're running an earth unit against a lightning unit, you're going to receive less damage. So do consider that as we're going through this. Floor 11, level 70 enemies. You're going to want to watch out for poison and immobilize. This is going to be one of those floors where if you get immobilized, they're just going to take pot shots at you until they can kill you. So make sure you have immobilized resistance. The dark magic or magic type unit that you're going to use to disperse the paladins, make sure that they have stun resistance. That's going to be with the chocolate flan earrings. Going to be very important. I think this will be pretty easy for everybody because almost everybody has like a dark magic user, and generic slash is going to work pretty good on the snipers as well. You just kind of have to get in there. So if you have anything with move up, that's going to be really great. You will want to be focusing on single hits here because the enemies are going to start stacking AoE resistance as we are going through, and you're going to want to pay attention to the attack types as we do kind of go through this. Floor 12 is going to get a little bit heated. You kind of have two different kind of sides here. You have the lightning monks on the south side, and then you have the, water-based lancers, and you have Cadia, who's wind, who's going to be supporting, but all of them are kind of weak to missile and pierce. So if I were you, I would take this floor slow. I might even consider running like an earth magic or an earth missile, like down here on the southern side, just so that you can pot shot these lightning units before they even really get to you. I think this floor will be pretty easy. The one thing you're going to have to watch out for in this floor and the next floor is a lot of the enemies have access to Doom. So you're going to want to make sure to bring a white mage so that you can set the white mage passive to kind of nullify Doom. You may want to bring a unit with raise just in case, but these units are going to use Doom. Your units will get doomed, so you want to make sure to kind of be prepared for that. Vadim is also going to be on the enemy side, and Vadim does have access to Steel Heart, so you can expect that he's going to use Steel Heart on your units. So having some charm resistance is also going to be good. If you're looking for units that are going to be naturally good on this floor, Zombie Ryu, Christmas Venera, and Alim all have charm resistance, and they're all earth element that you could put on. We also have Etri and Durando, who do have some doom resistance as well. So they kind of meet the requirement of fist type damage as well for the southern side. So if you have any of those units ready, that's going to be great. Make sure you have some type of status ailment resistance to address the confusion as well. Finally, again, that AoE resist is still present, so make sure you have that single hit attacks ready to deal damage when you need to. Floor 13. Floor 13 is going to be interesting because you're going to start seeing a pattern here. And if you are trying to clear tower in a single sweep, you may want to conserve your water magic units here. You may want to use some of your other magic units here because water magic does come up time and time again as a viable element attack type combination that you are going to be using. With that, of course, we're going up against, on this map, all fire element units. All of these fire element units have access to Doom as well. So you need to keep that in mind. They're going to have high range attacks. They're going to have access to Doom. You're going to be going against basically solely pierce attack wielding enemies. So you're going to set AoE resist. You're going to want to set potentially pierce resistance if you can get it. And as we're kind of going through here, it's very important to remember setting defense and spirit is great, but these enemies have an innate base defense penetration, spirit penetration. So setting specifically resistances like AoE resistance, single hit resistance, slash resistance, magic resistance, these are going to be a lot more important because as we get even further, they are going to have elemental piercing as well, which does mean that even if you're stacking dark resistance, for example, a dark element unit is still going to be able to deal a large amount of damage to you. One key note for floor 13, I do believe if you set a water missile based unit, you can probably snipe the Time Mage, which is supposed to buff King Elda. I would also consider putting a tank and a healer on the north and south side, just to make sure you can kind of survive the high range attacks of pierce attacks that are going to be coming your way. For floor 14, we have a lot going on here, and let me go ahead and touch that up there just a second there. But again, this is another floor where you're going to see multiple elements. So you're going to see earth, lightning, and wind. And you're going to need kind of a slew of elements to take care of it here. And you can see on the actual map here, I broke it up into different sections. You see the paladins are weak to dark magic. Pretty much all of the light element units here clustered are weak to dark and magic. We have Earth Slash weakness here in the back with Frederica and the other ranger. And then we have Wind Pierce and Wind Fist here with Lorenzo and the Dragoons. Now, if you are going to be going north, which I think is probably the best strategy, is to move your units all north here, I would make sure that you have jump +2 on your units. Make sure that you have a healer, because this is going to be a battle that's going to be drawn out a bit. Personally, on this floor, I think Ketone or GL Zazan are going to be your best bets, climbing up here on the north side and then pushing across up on this level 4 here, so that they can get to get to Frederica as quick as possible, right? So I would definitely be pushing hard for Ketone on this map, for Zombie Raryu, anything that's going to make accessing that upper level to kill Frederica better. I wouldn't worry too much about the Paladins along the south side. I think if you shift your forces up to the north here, what's going to happen is these Dragoons and Lorenzo are going to get bottlenecked right here. They're not going to be able to like funnel in and attack you. You'll be able to take them off. 2B and Tifa are both going to be great for this. Even Yerma, if you have her. They're weak to Fist and Pierce. You're going to be able to shred them. It'll be pretty easy. Other than that, not much to worry about here. Again, I would set status ailment resistance. I would set light ring. I would go for light resistance up. You are going to want to watch out for stun from the Paladins and Engelbert, which will be pretty important, but this should be a pretty easy match for you guys to clear. I think so. Yes, floor 15. That's where we're at. Floor 15 gets interesting because we are back. They kind of alternate here, you'll see, as we go between mono element and multi-element formation. But floor 15 is the last 10-pull ticket that you'll be able to acquire. It's enemies level 85, and it's an all-dark enemy floor. And the enemies are segmented into 3 different types of dark damage that they're susceptible to. Dark Pierce, Dark Slash, and Dark Fist. And you can see at the bottom here, the initial placement for your map here, they spread your units out. And this actually concerns me a little bit. I think a lot of people are going to try and spread out and like, oh, you know, 2 for each lane, or 1 for this lane, 2 for this lane, you know, so on and so forth. I would not do that. I would probably focus on 2 lanes first. So put maybe like 3 units over here for El Sorel, put 2 units over here for Camillo. Find a way to push 2 lanes, or push 1 lane if you're not max level. Don't try and push multiple ways or multiple waves up, because you're going to go ahead and struggle with that. Of course, you're going to want to bring stun resistance as well, because you are going to encounter stun again. And again, this is something we're going to see, right? We're going to start seeing stun all the time on these floors. I don't think I've ever recommended stun resistance as much as I have right now. In terms of survival, you're going to want to set pierce resistance and slash resistance. Some recommended units that I would suggest here. I would suggest Whisper. I would suggest Dwayne. One thing about Whisper on this floor that I really like, that I think you could probably pull off, is you could run like a 100% slash resist Whisper and just kind of like entertain El Sorel over here, right? Like if you just want to entertain El Sorel, keep her busy while your other units start cleaning up Camillo and Mashery, that could actually be a really good idea. And we're actually going to talk about Whisper a little bit later as well, because there may be some situations where if you have that 100% slash resist Whisper, you could run in and do some viable strats here. More. Um, my, apparently I'm having an audio problem right now, my computer thinks. I don't think that is the case though. Although it keeps, my presentation keeps hitting the wrong side here. So let's go ahead, fit that to screen, and we'll just go ahead and continue on. But floor 16 is gonna be wind, light, fire, and water. And Raldor and the Pugilist and the Energist are all weak to water magic. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to deploy your water magic here on the south side. And you're going to want to claim this 5 height position right here. And the reason you want to claim this 5 height position right here is because Raldor and the Pugilist only have range height 1 abilities. So they're not going to be able to hit you until they get up on this 4th level here. Now, what could be a problem is if you're setting your other units over here and then they try to go after them, right? Because you're probably going to set some ice missile units here, and you're probably going to try and take out Lucia this way. That is a possibility, or some ice fist based units. So you're just going to want to be careful. Maybe set a unit with enmity up right down here so that you can kind of lure Raldor and the Pugilist that way. Is something that I would consider if I were you. Krace in the background. I mean, again, you're gonna have Elshira and Krace here. You're not really gonna have an element type advantage with water or ice against them, but it's one of those situations where, you know, they're here, they're an additional enemy. It's not going to be the end of the world. You're really going to need to focus on the fire-based units, the Energist, the Pugilist, and Lucia's wind-based enemies up in the upper right-hand corner. Again, remember, you can set water ring or fire ring for fire resistance, which is going to be really good. You can also set missile resistance. Odin single hit resistance is going to be good. You can even bring a lightning element composition with Frederica's Dream if you do want to kind of hit those back end gunners a little earlier, or if maybe you want to go a lightning missile comp to take these guys out. They're a little resistant to missile, but you do get missile resistance plus 20 with Frederica's Dream, so that is viable as well. Enemies here do have AoE resistance plus 30, so just keep that in mind. Floor number 17, everybody. We have made it through most, but I would say this is another floor where you're going to have to use a unique strategy. Now, you could probably brute force your way through this floor with light element slashing, potentially, or light element piercing. But what you're going to run into is that you're basically going up against Whisper, Murmur, and Grace. And Grace or Cadia? It's one of them. Whatever the three sisters are. Whatever this... I think this is Grace. Whatever the three sisters are, they all have extremely high resistances. And they are susceptible to poison, but Grace will, of course, Esuna, and Murmur can also Esuna, and there's a white mage here that can Esuna, and there are red mages that can Esuna. So what do? What's the strategy that you go here? And this is another one of those slow missions, I think, and you want to take advantage of the ability counter slow. Every single enemy is susceptible to slow. There's no real good way to slow all enemies down. However, counter slow is extremely easy to proc, and it's very powerful when it lands. And you can put this on, for example, Yuna, Miranda, Lorenzo, Elshira, Phoebe, Ketone, Helena is going to be getting her EX as well, Aerith, right? You just park them right up there. You don't even have to focus on killing the enemies. You can land counter slow on them, and the next thing you know, you're going to be at a very big advantage in terms of being faster than your opponent. I would definitely kill the white mage first. That's probably your number one priority. You're going to need a dark slash unit to do that. Or a slash based unit, so definitely prioritize that. If you're running Gilgamesh, if you're running Ketone, should be very easy just to gang up and kill them, especially with Gilgamesh's slash reduction down. If you are struggling with Whisper, Grace, and Murmur, you can always poison them. You should be able to kill Grace relatively easily, and Murmur, it's Whisper that has like the 50% resistances on everything. So make sure, you know, Grace is not invincible. Once you take out the red mages and the knights and the white mage, maybe take out Grace and then take out Murmur. And if you need some time in between you could go ahead and just kind of mess around with Whisper as well. This is another one of those stages where Whisper could be really good, or any unit that's able to stack slash resistance and magic resistance. You will want to bring disable resistance and sleep resistance, though. That's going to be very important. And so you are going to be wanting to make sure you're equipping those defense bracers, those white puddings. Like, you're going to want to be able to make sure those are ready to go. Floor 18 is going to be the final level increase, I believe, to level 90, and it's going to be fire element units and water element units. And this is where things get a little weird. This is a floor where if you let it get out of control, or if you don't let the gimmick, or like if you're hit by the gimmick is going to screw you over. So what do you need? You need a fire-based fist unit or a regular fist-based unit. You need a mobilized resistance, and you need blind resistance. Now, there's kind of some things here to look at, and the first thing we're going to look at is the lower left-hand corner, and you'll see Victoria's here with 2 Dragoons and a Gunner. Now, it's an important thing to note that there are 2 Dragoons down here, and then there's some Lancers spread out across the map. The Dragoons are the biggest fear on this tower floor. The reason why is on any attack that these Dragoons land, they are going to have a 25 chance to land every single status ailment in the game. So how do you counter that? You kill them first. So what I've done is I drew up here the yellow space, which is where the Dragoons will move on their first turn. And the red space is all of the places where the Dragoons can attack with Dragon Dive. So you want to make sure you're doing initial deployment into the green area here. And then you're going to want to just buff. This is going to be a floor where you're going to want to bring a healer. You're going to want to just buff the first round and see if you can't bait these Dragoons out into this position. And then you want to blitzkrieg them as fast as possible. You literally don't worry about the other units on the map, right? Don't worry about them. They're not the ones who are going to destroy you. These Dragoons alone, if they land a single Dragon Dive on you, can completely destroy all 5 of your units. They're literally like Dragoons flying around with like N bad breath on their abilities. Keep that in mind. It's your number 1 priority. Now, if you don't have fist-based units or fist-based fire units like Raldor or King Elda, or potentially, those are kind of the 2 that are at the top of my mind. You could use a fire-based ninja such as Summer Ketone, because Summer Ketone has access to Katon, which is a typeless fire-based attack. So you're going to bypass the resistances that the Dragoons have, and you're going to be able to cast Katon and deal pretty good damage against the Dragoons. So that is another option that you have for dealing with those Dragoons who are going to be quite pesky. Otherwise, you're going to want to bring fire magic, so that's going to be Glaciella, Rain, something like that to take out the Lancers. And then for the Gunners, you're going to want to bring water magic, and water magic should just clear up. Again, water magic is one of those things that you're going to keep seeing on these pages, which I swear to God, like, I don't know why they have a boner for water magic in this tower, but I like everywhere I go, it's like water magic here, water magic there. You could also, just for those of you who are thinking, if you're bringing Summer Elsorel or if you're bringing a Scholar, Scholars do have Law of Geoabsorption, which is considered a fist-based attack. So you can attack the Dragoons with a Scholar's Geoabsorption if you are wanting to, say, bring like Summer Elsorel if she's only your real only Summer Water unit right now. You could have her go and help out in taking out those kind of enemies. Another important note here, very similar, I didn't mention it on the King Elda stage 2, but if you do have the Siren Vision card, Siren does have water units fire resistance plus 20, which will help you. They do have fire resistance penetration, but again, I mean, it's gonna still reduce the damage, and it's a pretty big chunk of damage resistance for your water units. Yes, they'll be able to pierce it, but you're still gonna get that little bit of resistance, so that's what I would consider there for floor 18. The final 2 floors, floor 19 and floor 20, are pretty interesting. Floor 19 is going to be Earth and Wind element, and it's kind of interesting in that you basically have Uldoa on the right side with 2 soldiers who are doing Drain Force at you. You have Moraga on the left side, who's susceptible to wind magic. And then you have up here, you have Kilfei with 2 Energists who are susceptible to wind pierce, who are susceptible to wind magic and missile for the Energists, and Kilfei is susceptible to pierce. So if you stay in the center, what's going to happen is you're going to get swarmed by the enemy and you're going to die. So what I'm going to suggest here is move to the left and engage Moraga right away, because a lot of people have wind magic units, or a lot of people have magic units in general. So you're going to be able to move to the left. You're going to be able to engage Moraga and these 2 Vikings. They're kind of the least dangerous, right? The soldiers and Uldoa with their Drain Force builds are going to have to chase your units. And what you want to do whenever you are engaging an enemy with Drain Force is a range height 0 ability. That means if there is a range difference in the height that you're standing on, they cannot use that. So you want to get to a height difference immediately to defend yourself from Drain Force, right? So this green box right here is going to be the safe spot that we're going to. Our goal on floor 19 is to burst left with all of our units. You'll probably want to set a unit with Move Plus or Shikuchi, and you're just going to want to get to this area, because if you get to this area, the only way Uldoa and the soldiers can Drain Force you is if they go all the way around, right? They go all the way around up here with Kilfei, and at this point you should be ready to engage them either way, right? Because they're going to be on range height 0 here, so they're going to not be able to Drain Force you. And you can always take an Ice Ranger and you can pot shot them as they are coming, right? And maybe they're coming through here and you're popping Barrage, or you're popping a Dragon Dive from range height 1. Whatever it is, that's going to be the best way to deal with it. Now, Kilfei is going to be weak to Wind Pierce, and Kilfei's only weakness is to Pierce and Wind Pierce. So you need to have some type of a Dragoon, some type of a Pierce unit on this map to deal with Kilfei. The Energists are only weak to Wind Magic and Wind Missile. I would recommend probably bringing just Wind Magic to kill them, because you're going to need Wind Magic for Moraga, and then you can kind of focus on building your composition either with healers or a tank to survive Kilfei, or with an Ice Pierce or an Ice Missile unit to deal with Uldoa and the soldiers. Floor 20. Floor 20 is going to be interesting. You kind of have a lot of things going on here. And basically, you're going to want to bring Light Element, Magic, and Pierce. But you're also going to want to bring Light Element Slash, regular Missile, and regular Pierce. And the reason is kind of twofold. And this may be a stage that you want to kind of eliminate a few enemies before you go and take Ruinstern. But again, they're only level 90, so if you do have a couple EX units, you should be able to clear this pretty easily. But if you look here in the upper part of Floor 20's map, you'll notice I have 1 green square outside of the initial placement. So these ninjas up here are probably going to try and charge your character down. You want to try and bait them. The red area is the space that the ninjas can attack with their stop ability. Now, the reason the ninjas are so important on floor 20 is they basically have a 100% chance to land stop if Shadowbind does hit you. That's important, so we want to get rid of that, because that means you basically can't prevent it. Unless you have Nullify Stop on your characters are going to get stopped. So if you can move one character here to position 2-2 and bait the ninjas out, you can kill them with light magic. They're ninjas, they're dark element, they're weak to magic and light element. Have someone holy them, it will kill them. Now, down south, you'll notice that we have 2 Rune Knights down here, and we have a whole bunch of Kododama wielders. Now, you'll see that I highlighted this spot right here, which is range height 3. You could potentially use this range height 2 area, but it's dangerous because you'll see there's a range height 1 area right here. So if they do have a range height 1 ability, which they do, they can go on to range height 1 and hit you, right? But if you're on range height 3 here, there is no range height 2 area for them to get up because they don't have jump 2, and there's no way for them to climb up this area. So if you have a missile-based unit or a high-range unit, this is going to be a good place to put them, and you may just keep your entire team back line. You can probably, take care of the ninjas, take care of the rune knights without even having to engage the Kododama, Stern, White Mage, and the Rangers. If the Rangers move forward or the snipers move forward, that's great. That's going to be another opportunity for you to take them out. However, don't force it. Make them come to you, right? You're going to have the advantageous position here on height 3. They might move forward and try and attack your main composition, which is fine. You can heal through that, and then you can engage them without kind of putting yourself in a position to get nuked by 3 Kododamas at once, right? Ruinstern, pretty dangerous because he does have light killer here. So just be aware of that. Some neutral element units are going to be good. You're also going to need Pierce and Magic to deal with the Kododamas. So again, maybe having Barrage or maybe having something that can deal with this. Again, they do have area of effect resistance too, so maybe more single target. But yeah, you're going to want to kind of stay back line and slowly bait them forward. I'm considering when we're dealing with Ruinstern AP breaking him. I was also considering a Whisper. So once the Rune Knights are out, once the ninjas are out, having Whisper kind of move forward and tank the Kododamas and Stern was a possibility. Basically, I just wanted to take it slow. There is also a White Mage in the background that can heal Stern, and I think it's going to be very important to get rid of that because Stern does have abilities which lower his HP, right? So he has abilities that do 20% HP reduction, 10% HP reduction. When he has 35,000 HP, that is a lot of HP reduction. So you may just want to let him, if you can kill the White Mage. If you're someone who's, used to throwing trash at tower fights just to clear floor 20, you may just kill Ruinstern by killing the White Mage and then having him do like Hazard Slash over and over again to drain his HP. Absolutely a possibility, I think, in terms of clearing this. Floor 20 EX, really important, everybody. There is a spoiler on Floor 20 EX, so if you have not cleared the first chapter storyline, stop everything and don't do it. Turn this video off and do not do this. But basically, you're going to be fighting Moraga's awakened form here. A couple things to know: he has AoE resistance plus 50. His different body parts all have different type resistances. The arcane serpents that he's going to spawn, that's going to be in slot E7, E6, E9, and E8. That's going to be these positions right here. They spawn at 70% HP, but they are weak to single target attacks and to slashing attacks. So you are going to be able to deal with them pretty easily. The main body of Moraga is going to be susceptible to immobilize. If you do have squishies on your team, this upper left-hand corner here with range height 2 is the only range height 2 area on the map. The only enemy that can really hit them is going to be the snakes. If they run up here, they can just smack them. Or if, Moraga's here, he could potentially smack them as well. However, if you have a tank like right here, if your tank is right there, you should be able to defend, and like healers or black mages or rangers, whatever it is, Moraga should never really be able to get in range to deal with them. Similarly, if you do want to do kind of a tanking strategy, if you have 2 tanks, you could do like a box strategy where you put 2 tanks right here and 1 right here. And what's going to happen is Moraga's hitbox is too big to get past here. So he would have to go all the way around to get to your other units, giving you time to slide your units this way, reposition your tanks, etc., etc. So you can use Moraga's side to your advantage, or his size to your advantage. So consider that. This is going to be a similar situation to previously, where you are going to want to prioritize slash resistance. You're going to want to prioritize area of effect resistance, single target resistance. Paralyzed resistance and disable resistance are a must-have here. Almost every single enemy has paralysis on their attacks, so you are going to need to have paralysis resistance. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need to have it. So make sure you have that set. Make sure you bring a healer. You can get some really nice beast killer because almost every enemy is considered arcana, and then Moraga and his ads are considered beasts as well. So you can take advantage of beast killer from Bahamut. Siren has a lot of beast killer. You can take advantage of Arcana Killer from Phoenix, and you can take advantage of Dark Killer from Iron Giant, Two-Headed Dragon, and from Carbuncle as well. So make sure you're considering that when you are coming in to try and clear this 20 EX. I think since it's only level 90 though, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem for people. I think it's actually going to end up being pretty easy. All right, everybody, if you do want to see me clear tower, I am going to do it on stream tomorrow. So I will